So welcome to Real Life Connections. We're on our next episode, and our special guest today is Destiny from Ontario, Canada. I'm so excited to have you here, Destiny. Destiny is a public speaker. She's a disability advocate, and she runs her platform, which is called Inspiration from the Chair. So I'm super excited to learn about all that she does for her community. So Destiny, welcome to Real Life Connections. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I also have arthrogryposis. Mine's multiplex congenita. And so you know what that looks like because you have the similar thing. I had a great family, but they were limited thinkers. So they really, I wouldn't say they gave me a huge idea of what I could do with my life. And I definitely resisted their pushings because whatever way they were pushing me was like, I don't want to do that. So I've had to overcome a lot of internal stuff. And I think that gives me a good place to share from. And I've had a lot of friends inspire me. I used to be afraid of public speaking. It was my biggest fear. And so I love doing it now and showing people how overcoming fear is like the only thing good to do in life. Just, keep overcoming.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for our viewers who may not know, arthrogryposis affects each one of us a little bit differently. So it can affect all four of our limbs. Sometimes it can affect internally. So for you, how does arthrogryposis affect you personally?
Yeah. So I can't bear any weight. I can walk in the water though.
Aha, me too.
I love swimming because that's where I'm free, right? I love it.
Absolutely. And then our hands typically look the same. So my hands are curved in, but my arms are straight down by my side. So just so our viewers know, it just really depends on each person. Yeah, mine look exactly like that. There you go. Yep, exactly. Absolutely. And then some of us are able to walk, some of us are not. So you use your power wheelchair. I use mine as well. And do you always use your power wheelchair?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, so do I. So just so everybody gets an understanding, so like I said, each one of us is super different, but a lot of us have a lot of commonalities as well, so that's cool. So what was it like growing up with a disability?
Oh, well, I never felt like I belonged. It's funny because it depended on the group I was in.
Okay.
When I was with adults, and my mom always kept me with a lot of adults, so in that group, I felt like I fit in. But as soon as I got around like other kids, I didn't feel like I fit in. And it depended on like if I was with other disabled kids, I didn't fit in. And if I was with normal kids, I didn't fit in because I didn't feel like I belonged in either group. And so that was a challenge.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, are you from Canada? Have you always been there?
Yeah.
Okay. So for a school system wise, because I'm not sure how that works. So through school, were you in classes with kids without disabilities, or were you mainly in inclusion classrooms with all disabilities?
Yeah, I was in totally regular mainstream classrooms with kids without disabilities. The school that I had a developmentally delayed room, and that room was where the special needs bathroom was, and so I would often go there, like maybe at lunches or different times of the day. But no, I spent the time in class with the regular kids.
Okay, no, that's good. And I always believe that inclusion is better, and I like that as well. And that's how I grew up. I was the only one in my elementary school in a wheelchair, so a lot of kids looked at me a lot different. Was that the same for you, or was there more individuals?
I was the only one for a while, but then in a couple grades younger than me, a little guy came in with I don't know what he had exactly, but he had, oh gosh, I'm getting all tongue-tied.
That's okay. Yeah, so I was the same way, but my school was not accessible when I was in elementary school. So it was a two-story school, and they also didn't have any paraprofessionals, which are the people that took care of me while I was in school. So the crossing guard was my paraprofessional, which was an interesting concept. A very old little lady. She was great, but definitely wasn't her full-time normal career. And the elevators didn't work in the two-story school, so I always had to move my classrooms downstairs. So it was an interesting accessibility issue for me.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you. When the
So,
kids would play sports, I was always the gamekeeper, the scorekeeper, right?
oh, cool. Okay.
So
That's
I
awesome.
was included however they could include me. When I got to high school, though, there were more disabled students,
Mhm.
and so they had an adapted phys ed class
Oh,
for
cool.
us. And so that was really a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Very cool. So what does life look like now? What do you currently do? Kind of, where are you right now?
Well, currently with COVID, we're locked down
Okay.
for a little bit. I do a lot of personal one-on-one counseling. I do mediation, like I said, public speaking, whenever that kind of thing gets put out there as an option.
Okay.
Yeah, I give myself. This is my worker.
That's awesome. Very cool. And so you live by yourself, so you live independently?
Yes,
Okay.
it's
Awesome.
just I have my own apartment, and my next door neighbor is my attendant care worker, which is amazing.
Well, that's super convenient. That's really cool as well. So what does caregiving look like in Canada's health system? Because here it's a little messed up. It's a lot of times we're left without care, or we don't get care because we make too much money, or there's so many rules and regulations. It's kind of ridiculous to be able to live. What does that look like there?
Oh, it's the same here.
Oh, great. So I'm not coming to Canada.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe some people might say it's better because people like to say Canada's better. But um, yeah, I was very lucky, and I've been very on the ball in terms of getting what I need when I need it, and maintaining that stability for myself. But it has been a challenge,
Mhm.
and I feel like I'm at the best place now than I've ever been, because I've been in the place where workers wouldn't show up and I'd be left in the lurch, and what am I going to do? And so
Right.
I've been there, and so I feel like I can help people. Like I can consult a lot with how they could streamline their own care.
Right.
And you know, I feel like I could, yeah,
That's
consider
awesome.
it for people. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm big on personal autonomy, and making our own decisions, thinking for ourselves. Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. So inspiration from the chair started. When did you start that?
I I believe back in 2010.
Okay.
I believe
And
it was.
how did it get started for you? What was your inspiration to start it?
Well, my friend came. He was hanging out here, and he said, "Have you ever done Toastmasters?" And he was probably the third or fourth person to come at me with that. Come at me with this whole public speaking, and I'd been like, "No, no, no, no." Finally, I thought, when one more person comes to me with this, I gotta consider it now, right? So he said, "I want to take you to Toastmasters." That was the other thing. He wanted to take me, so now I had no more excuses as to why I'm not going. And so he took me, and then he came up with it. He came up with this inspiration from the chair, and I just went, I love it. I love that title. I'm going to write that book, and so that's my platform. And I am going to write that book. Just
That's awesome.
it's work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I am also writing a book, and it is definitely called a work in progress because that is a bigger task than I thought. That's awesome. So you public speak. So what's your typical audience and topic?
Well, overcoming fear.
Okay.
So my biggest audience was International Women's Day. Back in 2015, I was paid to go to Saskatoon and,
Okay.
and speak there, and it was really amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So is your audience all ages, or do you prefer one audience over the other?
I feel like whoever's ready for the message will hear it. So I don't try to be picky. I don't think it's for any specific person. I think those who are ready to hear it will hear it. I know I wasn't ready to hear the message I needed to hear for a long time, and we can't force people to hear it when they're not ready.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to speak to those ears like that are ready to listen, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So obviously your friend kind of inspired you to start, because if it wasn't for going to Toastmasters, that might not have had happened. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So going back to living with a disability for a second, what do you think is one of the most frustrating parts about living with a disability?
How people see you and then how you end up seeing yourself.
Okay, can you elaborate just a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Well, when people look at you, they see you as very limited, and then you end up seeing yourself as limited. And you know, I believe that we're spiritual beings in a physical limited body in general, anyway. So my experience is extra limited, which kind of made me have to go inward even more and really explore that spirit side of myself to be able to expand beyond my physical reality.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So when people come, do people tell you, or is it kind of the way they act that kind of makes you feel like they are looking more at your limitations than at your abilities?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Some people, they don't even see you at all. You know, they just look at who you're with and they don't talk to you, you know. It's like, so yeah, there's all kinds of ways. The way they treat you, the words they say, and sometimes they don't even mean to. And then also being overly, like, sensitive, being oversensitive is like, oh, that's too gross. Now I don't like that either, you know. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting line of like, I want to be treated this way and not that way.
Exactly. And I think that happens a lot, because some of us are more open, and so we're like, if you don't think we can do it or you're not going to talk to us, I'm going to tell you, like, hello, I'm over here and I deserve to be talked to. Please don't talk to the person next to me. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then there's those of us that are too shy and don't say anything. And so unfortunately, I think that one of the reasons why it's so hard for us to kind of join together as one community, because some of us are vocal enough to say, no, this is how we really want it. And some are so shy that people are like, okay, do I do it? Do I not do it? Is it okay to do it? I'm not sure what to do. So they don't do anything at all. And so it becomes one of those moments where we just have to keep reinforcing, like, no, it's okay. Like, if you want to ask me a question, then ask me a question, because I'd rather you ask than make your own assumption that's probably incorrect anyway.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good point. Sometimes it gets really frustrating, especially if they associate the physical disability with some kind of intellectual disability that a lot of us don't have. So they talk to you like maybe you are on the level of a 3-year-old instead of, I'm 27, I'm not 3. I don't need a balloon or a smiley face sticker when I walk into the store, because that's weird. So there's a lot of, I think, education in that realm that is really important. And I know through public speaking, it makes a big difference, because even the more people you talk to, they become more comfortable and realize, okay, she's on my level. Why didn't I just treat her like she was on my level? So I think that's important. But what about things like, okay, so you live independently, obviously you use your wheelchair. Do you have any other types of assistive devices or anything you've created to help you kind of live more independently day to day?
I have a shower chair and a bathtub and a lift that goes from the ceiling, like it goes from my bed all the way across to my tub, and
Okay,
it goes in between. So
that's awesome. What about, we're on the computer now. Do you use anything for the computer?
I have a little stick here. This
Aha! It looks like my stick.
Yeah, so I use my hand and I hold the stick. Yeah, and then I type on the keyboard with my hand and the stick.
Okay, awesome. That's cool. And then so I use my mouth for a lot of things. So I type with my mouth.
I use my mouth for fixing my collar. Like.
There you go.
Yeah, no. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it's ways to adapt, right? We've kind of figured out, okay, well, this is how we're going to adapt to do the same things everybody else does. Because we don't have limitations, we just have obstacles to overcome. So it's
Exactly.
super important. And so let's see. How about any fun things you like to do?
I love movies. I love nature. I love singing. I love music. I love being outside. I love the sun. I love summer. I'm sad that it's going to be over soon. I'm like, oh, I don't want the snow to fly.
Oh my gosh, I know. We don't get snow here, thank goodness.
Um,
Uh,
no,
not
I love
not
snow.
regularly anyway. It does get cold, but only for like a week, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, any hidden talents?
Yeah. Talents. I'm really good at communicating with anyone.
Okay, that's
Like,
awesome.
uh, yeah, any kind of disability, whatever. I'm just so good at communicating. And
That's
then that has made me almost bitter because I'm always relegated to communicate with people that I don't want to communicate with. But just because I can, it's my job.
There you go. No, I understand that. Uh, that's awesome. So, how do you? Okay, so a lot of times an individual with a disability has moments where it can become more depressing or more of a down kind of mood, a lot of anxiety and stress and things like that. So, do you cope with that, and how do you keep like a positive can-do attitude so you can keep going each and every day?
That's a really good question. And I suffered with like anxiety and depression for a lot of years. And I had a really negative viewpoint of myself. And I felt really stuck in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how to escape it. And so, really, what the how for me of escaping that is to look within and realize those thoughts, feelings, all of those things, they aren't even yours. Someone put those on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those ideas that were not enough, those ideas were put on us. And when they're not ours and we're just pure and free, like God intended, then there just isn't any more depression. It doesn't even exist because like those you realize those feelings aren't even real. And they aren't yours and you can drop them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing for me, you touched on it because you said you love music, but music is really powerful.
Yeah.
I use music like every day. I love music so much. But it's just because you're constantly hearing words of more positivity and empowerment and encouragement, depending on what type of music you listen to, obviously. But just consistently hearing those words on replay helps get rid of those negative words that you put in your mind that, are on replay. So I think music for me is definitely a way that I cope as well. But I think it's important that each one of us has that because anybody and everybody, disability or not, goes through those points where people say, nope, you can't do that. I don't think you can do that at all. And it takes a lot of internal and self improvement to be able to say, nope, I'm going to do it anyway. And you're going to be really impressed when I'm done. So that's kind of the way you have to look at it. But I think each of us having that coping method is so important. And being able to be open about saying, yes, I do go through that because everybody does go through it. Uh, is
Yeah.
very powerful as well. So, what about in your community? Is there anything currently in your community that you'd like to see changed or more accessible for individuals with disabilities?
In my community, what I love about my community is we have a food forest for struggling families, which is relatively new, and my friend created it.
That's awesome.
My other friend created the Grand River Environmental Cleanup Group, and they have cleanups all year round where they go around and clean up the environment. And I'm very involved in her group for sure. And I have been since we started it back when we were in university together.
That's awesome.
And so she's also a member of the Guardian Angels, which is helping the homeless. And I really think those are really, really important. And I like to be involved in her groups. For sure, accessibility is an issue in every single community, and I always think it should be, you know, paid attention to. People should go, hey, let's accept it. I think it should be accessible for everyone.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think humanity needs to rise and unite. I think this divisive crap needs to end.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you. I know for me here, it's accessibility is difficult when the person or group of people who created the obstacle don't have any connection to a person with a disability because they didn't see it as an obstacle until I showed up. And then they were like, oh, yeah, well, you don't fit in the doorway. That could be a problem. And I'm like, okay, if we would have thought about this before we built the building, then it wouldn't be a problem. So it's just a matter of, for me in Florida, for sure, there needs to be a lot more of us with disabilities that go out. I feel like sometimes I'm the only one in a lot of places, and I'm like, okay, so now I'm like, well, if there was more of us, it wouldn't be so, oh my gosh, what do we do? I don't know how to act, you know? And so just being able to share more stories and really get out there is going to help, I feel, bridge that gap and help with that. So is there anything right now that you feel uncomfortable with that those who don't have a disability tend to do?
Like, you don't have to. What? Okay. Sorry, ask me again. Ask me again.
Sure. So is there anything currently that you feel uncomfortable with that somebody with without a disability tends to do? So you can't use your friends because your friends are super comfortable with you. I can't use mine either because that wouldn't work.
So sometimes people come up and shake my hand. People go to shake my hand, right?
Okay.
You feel like, oh, now what do I do? So I used to joke with my friend that I should just break out crying and say, I can't shake your hand. That just make them feel uncomfortable, right? So that's just like, I think humor is a big way that I deal with life and the reality of like existence, right? It's just a crazy world.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely relate to your story. So I don't go on dates very often, but I did go on one, and it lasted about 5.5 seconds, and it started with a handshake that ended with uh-oh. And I was like, what do you mean, uh-oh? What is wrong with you? And then that was the end of the date. And I was like, that was great. That was like record time. It should probably go down in the Guinness World Record book.
Wow.
But I was like, it's just a hand. It just looks different than yours. What is wrong with you? It's not gross. It's just bent differently. That's so unfair.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
similar
I
stories.
understand.
Handshakes are fun.
I could talk to you all day about dating with a disability because I went on 88 dates.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So from online, like Plenty of Fish type of websites, 88 in-person dates.
That's
And
crazy.
I even wrote them all down. Like I have their names, their hair color, like where we went, like little information, just because I thought I'm going to write a book someday.
Yeah, for sure.
About what it is to date with a disability and what it looks like. And it's just, yeah, it's insane.
It is. It's crazy. I think I've totally thrown in the towel. I'm like, you know what? If it's meant to be, maybe it'll happen someday, but I am tired. Well, I
Do you
don't
know
feel like
what?
doing it anymore.
And it will. It really will because I didn't believe it. And then I was at karaoke and bam, and I met the love of my life, and I'm so happy. We've been together 3 years, and I never thought it happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I believe that. I believe that there's somebody out there, but I'm just going to have to walk up and meet him someday because this
Yeah.
online dating stuff is just not for me. I don't like it.
It sucks. I agree.
That's awesome. Well, before we end our conversation, is there anything that I maybe didn't ask about or anything that you'd like to share or a piece of advice that you'd like to give the community before we go?
Oh my goodness. I'm on the spot.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. What did I say? I just, I would love to help the world. I feel like I think humanity has so much to offer. And I feel like the system that we are like currently living under is just, stealing our value. And I think we could become a cooperative society that could love and fulfill each other without all this crazy government nonsense in the way, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we could have a beautiful world, even though it looks as crappy as it does right now. I think we can definitely together we can build a beautiful world.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. And there's so much in this world that we can utilize, and there's so much love and connection that can be created. And I feel like right now there's so much distraction that unfortunately it just takes away from the life that we've been given. And a lot of people are missing out on the path that they have in front of them to do all these amazing things because the distractions really take hold and they kind of pin you down and you don't even realize it. And so I think one thing from being stuck at home, I've been stuck at home since March. It's been a long time. I don't even know what day it is anymore. But I have learned the value of time. And I think that the amount of time that we spend being so busy when we're not in a state of um, concern like this, it really takes away from your true value and the true talents and gifts that you've been given to be able to actually utilize them. So I am thankful for the time, even though it feels so disconnected and I feel like I just haven't connected with the people I always do. I've connected with brand new people I've never met before, which I think is amazing. And there's so many more opportunities, but it's hard to see that sometimes. So in a world where it's crazy right now, hopefully, eventually we'll be able to transition back into that. But I hope we transition to where people are using more of the gifts and talents and not being so busy and distracted like we were before. So hopefully we come out better than we went in.
Absolutely.
So, Destiny, I thank you so much for being a part of Wheel Life Connections today. We would love to share any social media or any platforms that you currently use for inspiration in the chair so that we can share that and our followers can follow you and your journey as well. And they can reach out to you if they have questions, or maybe they can build a connection with you and you're able to help them because we're much stronger together. And so it's all about building community. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And we will definitely stay connected so that we can follow each other for the future. All right. Thank you.